for 5, F for fear, F for feminism, ooh. F for forbidden siren. Yeah, as if I was that lucky. Amongst the many sci-fi themes that have been reused and abused like a wet sock in a teenage boy's room, none gets even remotely the same amount of presence as multiverse stories. Guess that's another scene Marvel can add to its list, right next to making Chris Pratt popular enough to voice Mario.
He's so cool. Mario will be talking a lot in the movie.
But to paraphrase one of my favorite movie quotes, you better start believing in multiverse theories, Mr. YouTuber watcher guy. You're in one. Cause I must have entered a different reality where a dev team whose track record sounds like a bad joke, hired by Konami. Konami, a company run by 3 drunk macaques and a sentient hentai pachinko machine, developed a Silent Hill game that is not just good, it's really, really good. Like standing next to Silent Hill 2 levels of good, and that's why everyone had to hate it. And I agree with those people, this game looks nothing like a true Silent Hill game. Yes, they kept the fog, but where's the iconic first-person view the series always had? Where are the classic Silent Hill side quests we all love? Where are my ghosts that make me want to ghost myself with a 44 caliber? Where's my funny shrink cocktail? They didn't even put a triangle head? Everybody knows there's always a pyramid scheme in Silent Hill, just watch the movies! Or could it be that every Silent Hill has tried something wildly different and you're just cherry-picking the parts you like, expecting them to still be in this new game which is also trying to be even more unique than its predecessors? Kinda like Silent Hill 2 having a plot so disconnected from Silent Hill 1 you could retitle it My Spooky Dead Wife's Letter and no one would bat an eye. Nah, that can't be, but for the sake of fairness, I'm gonna pretend that's a possibility and judge this game for its merits rather than stacking it against expectations rooted in blind nostalgia. And Silent Hill F does a lot of new stuff, like being scary. Remember how that used to be a thing? This game understands survival horror on a mechanical level, and it all starts with the combat. The combat in this game, man, the combat in this game, I don't know what y'all haters are smoking, it is the best melee combat I've seen in a survival horror since Condemned. Except Condemned was limited by our puny western sensibilities. F is for Japan, where dodging a punch makes you teleport to the other side of town and little girls are sword masters at the age of 7 months. Other horrors just make your character dog shit, but F gives you a pro martial artist fighting Sekiro bosses like a maniac with a moveset that can make Sonic envious, even in his werewolf mode. But jumping over this tiny fence? Oh no, we can't have that, she might get her ankle sprained. Now, some people call this a Dark Souls-y combat system, and those people are dumb and you should not trust them. Okay, it looks a bit like Dark Souls, but it's all in the balance. Yes, you can parry an attack and proceed rupturing each vertebrae of your opponent one by one, but on the other hand, your attacks are so slow the protagonist Hinako will turn 20 by the time you're done with the combo. Every confrontation is potentially lethal, and encounters against more than one enemy can overwhelm you in seconds or drain all your resources. Now, of course, this could have easily backfired, but the game reassured me very early on. Hey, don't worry, this is not the Silent Hill 2 remake, this is a survival horror, you're allowed to run away and hide. Until we decide you're not, but don't worry about that now. And everything else flows smoothly thanks to this. Oh, what will I do? Will I explore this side of town to find some gyozas for my buddy Kiryu? Or will I have to run away screaming like a baby because those goddamn clicking mannequins are waiting? Even jump scares are good, my god, this multiverse thing is incredible. Yes, some of them are ass and cheap and I hate them. Oh Christ, how could I say that? But the majority of them can be predicted. Take this early section of the Nightmare World. I can't see crap, it's all silent and—
Surprise, motherfucker!
Screw this, I'm out. Yet that's the game teaching you how this monster jump scares you. They hide on the ceiling, you can faintly hear them, but most importantly you can see them, and from there on out, being jump scared by them is not a cheap horror trick, rather a punishment for not being careful. It's a feedback loop that constantly feeds this sense of dread the more you progress, which makes you more tense, which in turn makes you more afraid of exploring, but if you don't explore you won't upgrade your stats enough, so oh my god, now I have to go there?
Surprise, motherfucker!
This game doesn't care about your feelings, whether it's about scaring you or scarring you, cause damn, some stuff here is... yikes. What kind of sadistic deranged person came up with this? Alright, it checks out. The story is brutal and cruel, but it felt honest, never settling for cheap shock value. Hinako's journey is a dire fight for her own independence as a woman. It's filled with doubts, fears, and distrust even towards the people who are the closest to her. Yes, its themes are very in your face at times, but they rarely feel ham-fisted into the dialogues. The game doesn't stop in its tracks to give you a lesson about patriarchy and respect women. These concepts are woven into conversations or even into the puzzles, which I absolutely loved. Come on guys, the Scarecrow puzzle is not that hard, alright? The script is loud, but not like an angry teacher pissed at the students not listening. It's loud because it feels like a pain scream, and yeah, maybe that's not subtle at all, and we all know that's bad because a true Silent Hill would never be unsubtle. Play it, tape, please.
I was weak. That's why I needed you. Needed someone to punish me for my sins. That's all over now.
Right. Besides, judging from the reaction to this plot, I'd say F wasn't unsubtle enough. F goes to great lengths in order to explore not just how a patriarchal society becomes a prison for Hinako, but also how this affects her behavior, how it warps her perception of what her friends think of her and prevents her from understanding other character struggles. It shows how people who seemingly hate her are victims themselves, and how those who appeared as her closest allies can still be influenced by those same societal paradigms they didn't want to adhere to. There's just a little problem. You don't get that by finishing the game, because Silent Hill F just... Did I play Deus Ex Mankind Divided again by mistake? The bad bastards expect you to finish this thing 3 times, 4 times if you want a complete picture, and you kinda have to do that. Because the first ending landed on me so abruptly I half expected it to be the UFO ending, this time starring the Columbia Space Shuttle. And just watching the cutscenes on YouTube won't really cut it, because a huge chunk of the plot development is delegated to new documents you can find subsequent playthroughs or small but crucial changes in the cutscenes. But come on, 4 replays? Nobody would do that, man. Except me. So, after spending an ungodly amount of time playing this thing, explored every corner and collected all the documents, I'm the only one who can honestly answer the question. Was it worth it? Yes? This game has got them amazing. It's fun, creepy, deep, beautifully directed, artistically inspired. Yes, it's worth it. But also, absolutely, categorically, no. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit overdramatic, but the last couple of hours easily become a slog because the gameplay has to go hand in hand with the story. That's how you make a good game. So if Hinako feels more combative and paced, then this game is gonna throw all the rules out of the window and turn into a Devil May Cry gauntlet with a plethora of arenas you're locked into until you've killed bullet sponge enemies able to hit you just by breathing. I respect the intent behind it, but at least on subsequent playthroughs I think there can be a less time-consuming way to express the protagonist's fight to regain control over her life and asserting her free will. I don't know, maybe a sorry I have a headache tonight button prompt.